Good morning. I'm here with Michael Gravelle, Minister of Northern Development and Mines. And Michael, we're here today to talk about Queen's Park and what's been happening. And my first question is going to be very simple. Can you give us a brief update of what we should be looking forward to in the new year?
I think it's important to remember that we had a session in the summer in July of 2014 after the election when we were very fortunate to get re-elected as the government. Brought through a budget which included our commitment of $1 billion to the Ring of Fire, amongst other good things. Then, of course, the fall session itself was a very active one as well. So, it's been a good year for us from the point of view of having a chance to move forward with a majority mandate. I am thrilled, as always, to work with Kathleen Wynne, who has made it so clear as Premier how important Northern Ontario is, and that's clearly a priority for myself and my colleague Bill Morrow and our Northern members. So we're definitely going to be focused in 2015, economic development. How can we really continue to grow the North? That's a focus for me as MPP for Thunder Bay Superior North, and very much will be a focus for me as Minister of Northern Development and Mines. We're pretty excited about the great opportunities we see in Northern Ontario. I honestly think that's where the economic future for the province is, in Northern Ontario, and we want to get there.
Okay, so Michael, you mentioned the Ring of Fire.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of speculations and rumors, etc. The federal government, they seem to be throwing you under the bus. Is there any comment on the relationship, and is there any comment on what's happening? Because I know the province has said, we'll put in $1 billion. We want the federal to put in $1 billion. The feds are saying, well, we want to see some kind of plan. Is there any comment on any specific?
Yeah, let me tell you how I'm seeing and approaching the federal government's response. I see them actually as becoming, for the first time ever, actually fully engaged in a discussion with us. Minister Rickford, Minister of Natural Resources, clearly the minister from Northwestern Ontario, who has probably the greatest influence over the federal government putting that $1 billion into the project. We are utterly convinced, and we know it's true, that in order to reach the full potential of the Ring of Fire, the federal government needs to match our $1 billion commitment, because that means we can provide community access. It's not just about building a road or a corridor to a mine. That's obviously crucial to getting the minerals out, but we want to be able to build community access as well. Minister Rickford is now fully engaged, has indicated publicly that he's more than willing to sit down with me. Yeah, they've attached some concerns to that. For example, he talks about not being a big fan of our development corporation because right now it's got a board made up of public servants. Well, the entire reason why we want the federal government to match our dollars is so they can join us on the corporation to help make those decisions. That's how we will also, I think, bring on the First Nations to the board. When the First Nations and industry see that the federal and provincial governments are not only working together but committed to this kind of a financial commitment, I believe that will allow us to make the board, the development corporation, a fully functioning, mature board where all the decisions can be made. So, Minister Rickford and I need a conversation. We need to sit down. But from my perspective, he is now saying, you know what, we have got a letter of request. He was saying before they should apply for dollars under the Building Canada Fund. We've done exactly that under the national infrastructure component of the fund. So I'm viewing this positively. Minister Rickford wants to sit down and talk. We're right now, as we speak, trying to set up a date for the minister and I to get together, and I am encouraged that after a period of time when they would not directly talk to us about the Ring of Fire, Minister Rickford and I are now going to sit down, and we're going to sit down specifically about the possibility of the federal government matching our $1 billion commitment. From my perspective, that's good news.
I guess I would ask the question, is $2 billion enough? I mean, how much money is this going to require? Does anybody know that?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's a good question, and the answer is that we've had an awful lot of work done on this, and there is no question, of course, there is an expectation, and I think a legitimate one, that the industry needs to put their proportional amount into this project as well. This ultimately, these are private sector projects. There are mining companies that will be going into the north and obviously taking minerals out and bringing them out. We want to see the greatest value-added opportunities, potential for processing here in Ontario, potential for stainless steel operation. This has got a great potential. But what we acknowledge as a province is that because there is such a huge capital cost, the bottom line is this is a remarkable and extraordinary resource development project in a part of the province that has never seen development before. It's in a remote part of the province, needs about a 350-kilometer corridor. We have acknowledged with our $1 billion commitment, the government has a very significant role to play to encourage investment, to encourage the First Nations to come on board. Clearly, it can't be just the provincial government. That's why we want the federal government. So if we had those $2 billion, the full project itself is probably more in the range of $2.5 billion. And that does include community access. One of the things that we shouldn't forget, we speak always in terms, for good reason, of the economic development potential of this project. The thousands of jobs it'll create, the value-added benefits, the potential for processing. But there's also an astonishing opportunity for social benefits as well for the communities, these particularly the remote communities that are operating on diesel. And if we can do this right, we can actually be setting up transmission grids. We can be opening opportunities for year-round access. This is what we've talked about, both at the federal and provincial level for many, many years. This project, I think, gives us the opportunity to actually make that happen. So when I speak of the full potential of the Ring of Fire, that's what I'm talking about. The community access part is simply a very natural part of the jurisdictional responsibilities of the federal government. So that'll be part of the conversation I'll be having with Minister Rickford, and I'm convinced that when he and I actually have a chance to sit down, he will better understand what role the federal government can play. He will better understand the value and the benefit of a development corporation where all the partners will be making decisions together. That's important, and that was what will drive this forward. And if we can do that, this project can move forward more quickly than people actually expect.
I think one of the issues, though, is that when you open a mine, I think a lot of people don't understand, it usually takes about 10 years, 15 years to open up a mine. And a mine in a remote area is going to take a lot of time.
It's a good point, and I mean, and I think to some degree, I think the expectations, the excitement over this project was so high.
Yeah.
And you listen, we as a government got excited about it. We had it as part of our throne speech and budgetary items. So I think the expectations were put in place that, gee, it was going to happen in 3 or 4 years. If you look at any project, a project for a mining development in a community, let's look at Sudbury, Greater Sudbury. We just opened up a new mine, the Taunton mine in Sudbury this past February. From the beginning of when they decided to look at the possibility, when they realized there was the mineral opportunities in the ground, to when they do it, it's a 7, 8, 10-year project where all the infrastructure is in place.
Right.
So with the Ring of Fire, the recognition that there needs to be the infrastructure in place, because it isn't just transportation, it's energy. Energy is a huge part of that as well. We've got to work those deals out too. Having said that, I completely understand and if not embrace the fact that the public is pushing us, pushing me. That's good. I'm all for it. That's why we're pushing the federal government. I remain very optimistic about this project. It's going to happen. And there's also the other factor of commodity pricing. Ultimately, you need a proponent who is willing to go forward and spend considerable dollars of their own to put this in place. Commodity pricing, the mining, it's been tough in the mining sector for the last couple of years, but it is a cyclical industry. There's no industry that better is defined cyclical than mining. I do believe that we're at a tough spot now, but we are going to come back because we always do. So all these things have to come together, but we need to make sure that we have positioned this project so when the cycle has returned to where it needs to be, which I hope is soon, we're ready to go. We've got the training and skills in place. We've got the actual decisions made on transportation infrastructure. We've got the government support for it. We have the First Nation partnerships and an assurance the First Nations are going to truly benefit from this project. It's certainly in a way First Nations didn't benefit 25 or 30 years ago. That's a crucial part of our belief system and our principles in the province. Premier Winfield strongly about it. And industry is also embracing that as well. So it's complicated, right? But it's exciting. We're going to do it.
I do too. So Michael, thank you again. Have a Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thanks,
and
Aldo.
I know you got to get going. So thank you for your time.
Thanks. It's great. Take care.
Thank you for watching Thunder Bay Live, and we'll be back in the future with Michael Gravelle speaking from the Queen's Park. Thank you.